What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. Are you pursuing your import-export business dream in Singapore? Perhaps you are a foreigner in Singapore and looking to start your own exporting business there. Would you like to get some fabulous import-export business ideas in Singapore? Or do you want to know where to start with very little capital? International business in Singapore has many opportunities. Important is to focus on the proper potential areas and sectors and plan your journey well. So, if you are curious about those questions that I mentioned and want to learn how to start an import-export business in Singapore, why do you wait it? Let's dive right into it. Alright, let's start with an overview of Singapore. Singapore is a small but wealthy city-state with an open and trade-oriented economy. It's a leading financial, shipping and trade center for the Asia-Pacific region. The government has a pro-business economic and trade policy, ranked second in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index. Singapore has a stable government, a strict rule of law, and effective regulatory system. Singapore, which gained the status of a fully independent state in 1965, has a population of 5.7 million. 76% of this population is of Chinese origin. According to the World Bank data, the 3.8% unemployment rate is below the world average of 5.2%, and 83% of the workforce is employed in the service sector. In addition, the education system is constantly ranked as one of the best globally by the OECD. According to the data of the Singapore Statistics Department, the nominal GDP of the country in 2019 is 372 billion US dollars. The nominal GDP per capita is 65,230 US dollars, ranking fourth globally. While Singapore exported 390 billion US dollars in 2019, it imported 359 billion US dollars. According to the International Monetary Fund data, grew by 0.6% in real terms in 2019. Singapore is one of the most open and independent economies in the international market, ranking 14 in exports and 15 in imports. It manages assets worth more than 1 trillion United States dollars. Building modern and efficient infrastructure is seen as a foundation for the success of Singapore's economy. The infrastructure system includes seaports, airports, post and telecommunications, roads, and other utilities. This helps Singapore to have high per capita income, life services, and social security. Okay, let me explain the export and import sectors in Singapore. First, we start with the export sectors of Singapore. Singapore has developed industries in seaports including shipbuilding and repair, oil refining, processing, electronics, and mechanical assembly. Singapore is a transshipment hub in Asia. That means Singapore is a leading manufacturer and supplier of electronic computer drivers, semiconductors, and oil refining. Singapore is a unique city-state, similar to Hong Kong. As a result, Singapore and Hong Kong are competitors, attracting investments and companies' headquarters. Indeed, Singapore is dependent on exports such as consumer electronic, information technology products, pharmaceuticals, and the financial service sector. Now, let's move to the import sectors of Singapore. Singapore has a unique opportunities for exporters. You can export various goods to Singapore, especially for agricultural, forestry, and fishery products. Singapore's highly import-dependent, multi-billion-dollar food industry is driven by robust consumer spending, high disposable incomes, and intense urbanization. Singapore's total agricultural and related products imports in 2020 reached 15 billion US dollars. With the United States capturing a 10% market share. In 2020, the United States exported 1 billion United States dollars in total agricultural products to Singapore, increasing 7% from 2019. Of that amount, 491 million US dollars were in consumer-oriented products, a drop of 8%. Still, 45% of the total agricultural ranks fifth in Southeast Asia. Malaysia. Singapore also imported 537 million United States dollars in US processed food exports in 2020, an increase of 9%, ranking third in the region and nearly 50% of the agriculture total. The United States is the fifth largest supplier to this market, with an import value of 954 million United States dollars. And Malaysia, France, Indonesia, and China are the top four importers of this city-state. Top exports of processed foods to Singapore in 2020 included fats and oils, food preparations and ingredients, processed and prepared dairy products, processed vegetables and pulses, snack foods, alcoholic beverages, chocolate and confectionery. High-growth packed foods products in the forecast include cheese, rice, pasta and noodles, savory snacks, baked goods, breakfast cereals, pet food. So, if you own one of these products to export, you should add Singapore to your target country list and think about how to export to Singapore. For one thing, Singapore's local import businesses are looking for the products such as food, processed food, rice, coffee, cashew nuts, confectionery, instant noodles, fish sauce, vegetables. Additionally, textiles, fabrics, garment accessories, uniforms, also furniture and some other items. These products can be supplied from nearby ASEAN countries like Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, and Malaysia. Singapore is a member of ASEAN, and if you are an exporter who has these products, means you have a significant opportunity for exporting to Singapore. But first, please let me explain the export-import policy of Singapore. Singapore has implemented an open-door policy. Import preparation process are via the internet, allowing foreign importers to receive import permits within 24 hours. All goods consumed in Singapore are subject to GST, a tax on goods and services in Singapore. As of July 2007, GST was at 7% of the CIF of price. Alright, let's look at how to apply for import-export licenses. For importing all goods, including controlled and non-controlled items into Singapore, you need to have an import permit through TradeNet before the goods are into Singapore. For exporting all goods, including controlled and unregulated items out of Singapore, you must have an export license through TradeNet. And you will have to do it when, before exporting goods out of Singapore, if they controlled or transport goods on rail or road. Within 3 days of export, if they controlled or shipped goods on sea or air. Imported goods previously from exporting temporarily import for re-export. Then exporting temporarily exported goods. Some circumstances like importing or exporting commercial samples of uncontrolled items with a total value not exceeding 400 Singapore dollars on the CIF price can do import or export without a license. Okay, let's look at Singapore customs fees. Singapore customs charges a fee for administrative procedures. The most efficient way is to pay all fees, taxes, and GST to Singapore customs through the GIRO, which allows Singapore customs to make a deduction directly from your bank account. If you are considering trade finance and insurance, in Singapore businesses often use loans, letters of credit, and insurance to cover financial risk associated with transactions. To understand what import or export business opportunities in Singapore offers, let's take a look at Singapore's main import and export products. And let's start with Singapore's main export products, pharmaceuticals. Singapore is one of the few countries to export super pharmaceuticals. The US, Europe, and Japan have been Singapore's pharmaceuticals' most prominent export destinations. The demand for drug storage has contributed to the increase in Singapore's export. Specifically, in 2019, Singapore's export turnover of pharmaceuticals products reached 8.1 billion US dollars. And at the same period, the import reached 3.1 billion US dollars. In particular, Singapore's biomedical industry employs more than 24,000 workers, accounting for 20% of the workforce. This sector contributes contributed about 1/5 of Singapore's GDP in 2019. Computer drives and semiconductors. Singapore is leading producer of electronic computer hard drives and semiconductors. Consequently, Singapore and other Asian economies heavily dependent on export have surged since 2017 due to improved global demand, especially for electronic products and components such as semiconductors. In this category, Singapore is competing with Taiwan and China. Finished products. Singapore is an exporter of finished products, coffee, tea, spices, beverage, fish, and seafood. The beverage food manufacturing industry reached $9 billion 2017. More than 50% were re-exporting. These products are beer, non-alcoholic beverages, oils, chocolates, processed seafoods, milk powder, condensed milk, sauces, and seasonings. Okay, now let's look at the main import products of Singapore. Meat and poultry. Singapore imports meat and poultry from all over the world. As a result, poultry and pork products are widely consumed here. For example, chicken meat is supplied by importing frozen chicken from Brazil, the United States, China, and Europe. Fruits, green tea leaves. The major suppliers of tropical fruits to Singapore are the United States, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, China, South Africa, Argentina, Chile, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Families in Singapore prefer green tea leaves from China, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam. Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and the United States mainly imported vegetables. Seafood. About the seafood, Singapore imported from Malaysia, Indonesia, China, and Vietnam. Other suppliers are Norway, Thailand, Japan, Australia, and India. Singapore's total seafood imports were $1.8 billion in 2018. Wooden furniture. Singapore's import value of wooden furniture in the first 4 months of 2019 reached approximately $80 million. Singapore imports wooden furniture mainly from Malaysia and China. The value of imports from these two markets accounts 71.1% in the first 4 months of 2019. Vietnam is increasing its market share with furniture as well. Okay, now we are coming to one of the most expected parts of this video, and that is how to start exporting to Singapore. Singapore is a small country with no natural resources, so this country depends heavily on imports. Singapore has implemented an open door policy, so exporting to Singapore is very simple. But do not forget, to be able to export to Singapore, products are subjected to strict quality control and technical standards. In addition, Singapore has strict rules with heavy penalties for violators. Alright guys, let me explain to you what are the first things to do to export to Singapore. Step 1. Finding and partnering with an importing company. A Singapore-based company partner is required to be an importer or a distributor. It is convenient because it can declare the forms online and this importer is already registered. These import companies will have to do all the import procedures such as customs declaration. Step 2. Register with Singapore Customs. All importers and exporters must activate their accounts in the Singapore Customs before exporting goods to Singapore. To get a custom account, you need to prepare some information, and these are business information, information on the main contact person, communication with second contact person, contact information for the individual who will receive a notification when the trade name license is registered under the UEN company identification number is approved. Employee information. The business owner wants to authorize to access and activate custom account. Step 3. Check if the exported goods are being controlled. To check the goods attributes in Singapore, businesses can check the harmonized system code or contact Singapore Customs to receive the code, and it costs around 75 Singapore dollars per product. Step 4. Register an interbank gyro account. It required an interbank gyro account by Singapore Customs to pay taxes, GST, and other charges. Once an IBG account is approved, businesses can e-file to authorize a declaring agent to deduct tax payable directly from the IBG account. Suppose the businesses do not open an IBG account with Singapore Customs. In that case, there will be a deducted tax and GST to declare agent account. Step 5. Payment guarantee. Businesses must must conduct payment guarantee operations, bank guarantee, finance company guarantee, insurance bond for transactions related to taxable goods, temporarily imported goods, or payment operation. Charges when using the areas services licensed by the customs, tax suspension area, abandoned warehouse. Step 6. Apply for a customs export license. Businesses can appoint a declaring agent to obtain customs clearance on behalf of the businesses, or apply for an import license for your own business or your customers if the applicant is a declaration agent. You should submit all license application via Singapore's Customs Trade Net. The application form is usually priced at 2.88 Singapore dollars. Step 7. Prepare the documents for the cargo clearance. With the goods imported by sea, the company does not have to present the printed copy of the customs permit and supporting documents to the checkpoint officers at the entry checkpoints. For imported goods in container by air or road, the enterprise must present the import permit and supporting documents such as invoice, packing list, airway bill to the verification checkpoint staff. Besides, businesses need to keep commercial documents related to the purchase, import, sale, and export of goods for 5 years from the date of approval of the customs permit. Can store these documents in hard copies or as images. It obliges businesses to keep the commercial documents and present them at the request of the customs. All importers and exporters must sign an international sales and purchase contract before starting their international trade activity. To avoid risks, businesses involved in the international sale of goods must enter into an international goods and sale purchase contract. Compulsory forms for international goods sale and purchase contracts are in writing or equivalent forms such as fax copy, telegraphs, computers, soft documents like email. Legal aspects of international goods sale and purchase contract should include some of these issues that I am going to mention now. Offer and conclude a contract. The rights and obligations of the parties. Contract breaches and remedial measures. The problem of transferring risks. The parties' laws will govern other issues. Therefore, understanding and applying the convention provisions are essential for enterprises signing international contracts. Resolving disputes, including disputes over commercial contracts, through the arbitration mechanism belongs to the Singapore International Arbitration Center, a completely exclusive organization established with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Singapore. The center has arbitration rules based on the model law issued by the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law. And recognizing Singapore law, Singapore's selection of the Singapore International Arbitration Center for Contractual Dispute Resolution is voluntary for the involved parties. The contract dispute settlement terms specify that. Okay, now I will share the most profitable export ideas in Singapore. There are some lucrative products to export to Singapore as it is essential that Singapore needs. Water. Singapore does not have pure water. They must import water from other countries like Malaysia. In Singapore, water is about 5 to 6 Singapore dollars per bottle. So it is expensive, but people can drink tap water everywhere. It will be a very profitable business if you can supply qualified bottled water at a reasonable price. Cars. In Singapore, people can have cars and vehicles for only 10 years to protect the environment. Singapore has to import cars and it is costly. People all need cars. They expect good priced cars if you can supply them. Foods. Period. Meat, eggs, rice and noodles are costly in Singapore. If you have qualified food products to export to Singapore, don't miss that opportunity. Luxury goods. All that is associated with luxury and elegance. Hand watches, necklaces, jewelry, branded clothes and cosmetics. Also branded wines from Italy and France. Alright my friends, let's look at how to do export marketing to Singapore. First, you need to understand Singaporean consumers' general tastes and preferences. Usually, importers and agents representing foreign brands will be responsible for market development, building advertising and promotion strategies, and strengthening distribution channels in the retail market. Every business will have a different marketing plan to export its products. Usually supermarket chains and a few luxury product retailers import products directly from source countries, collectors and distributors to sell in their stores. Smaller retailers usually import goods from local distributors. Products imported directly to Singapore are usually fruits, jams, confectionery, cookies, salad dressing, and packed deli meats. Products imported by local importers include products from Asia, dry groceries, tropical fruits, frozen chicken, chicken parts, frozen beef, sauces, and national food. Singapore is a highly competitive environment, which many exporters worldwide are targeting. High-end brands capture the public imagination by standing out of the crowd. For instance, besides providing the best products, you should also focus on the best customer service. Okay guys, let me explain how to import goods from Singapore for beginners in 4 steps. Step 1. Select the product to import. You have to research the products before importing them. For example, health and beauty care products such as makeup, shower gel, and body skin care are the ideal product niches in Singapore. In addition, the wholesale price is also quite low and the quantity is not too large. Computer accessories, phones, shockproof laptop bag, laptop battery, computer speaker, Bluetooth speaker. You can buy wholesale in large quantities, reasonable price, and not too tricky to source. Product size and volume are also essential to pay attention to, especially if you want long-term business. A compact product under 450 grams helps you minimize shipping costs and optimizes product storage space. As the orders grow, stocking of the product is essential. The compact product will definitely save you a lot of warehouse rental costs. Step 2. Collect the pre-orders for low-budget businesses. For new and small businesses, you should consolidate pre-orders and orders so that there is no inventory without too much capital. After a period of acquaintance with customers and acquiring a certain level of prestige, you should collect cheap goods in bulk before gathering customers. You should collect goods from major brands in the sale of seasons for a reasonable price, sometimes cheaper than 1/3 of the selling price, and the expiry date of the product is still comfortable over 1 year. Step 3. Make payment. If you agree with the quotation provided by the seller, you can confirm the order. Then proceed to make the contract you will sign and pay from 70 to 100% of the order value depending on the contract required. Step 4. Ship booking. If importing goods from Singapore by sea, you need to book a ship. However, before performing this step, you need to sign a sale contract. Usually, shipping lines will run out of seats a week before, especially when it falls in the peak season. When booking a ship to import, you only need to provide information for the freight forwarding service in your country to get your booking, and they will contact your partner to coordinate packing according to the previously defined plan. Import-export business is a stage of foreign trade activities that affect many other industries. Export is an indispensable industry for all countries because it brings a high source of foreign currency to help increase imports of goods and create jobs for people. Currently, there are many established companies in Singapore and most of them import goods from nearby Asian countries and China, and then they are reselling to Europe. But if your plan is solid and you focus on specific products or industries, you have made sure who your target customers are and how to sell to them, then definitely it means there is a big chance to build a profitable international business for you. Alright guys, if you got at this point in this video, please let me know you are here to comment and say export to Singapore in the comment section. And if you want to support me or learn more about international business and discuss the subjects of import or export with me, please check out my channel's join feature and to learn how to get and enjoy the privileges. You can find the link in the description. Also, do not forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button and share it with your friends. If you would like to learn about international trade and countries, you should watch these 2 videos that are right here. Anyways, I appreciate you guys being here and watching this video. I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.